I think most people don't actually hate work. I really don't. I think people hate realizing that work slowly became their entire life. Because when you think about it, work itself isn't the problem. We all know that you have to work, and that's, a part of life. The bills don't disappear, the rent still comes every month, and the food still costs money. So yeah, we have to work. But somewhere along the way, work stopped being something we do and it turned into something we're expected to organize our entire life around. And that's when things start to fall off or feel off. Growing up, we were told, life is pretty simple. Work hard, struggle now, and grind just a little harder. And eventually, everything will make sense. But the weird thing is, for a lot of people, it never does. Instead, life turns into this endless loop you don't really notice at first. You want to be happy, you need money. You want more you want money, you need to work more. And once you're in this mindset, it starts stacking. You want freedom? Okay, I need to make more money. You need to work more to make more money. So you work more. You get promoted, which sounds great at first until you realize it's actually just means more responsibility, you have more stress, and somehow you have even less time than you did before. And then it just keeps going. You want to go out this weekend? You need more money, which requires more work. You want a better place to live? More work. You want more stability? That's definitely going to cost you some more work. And at some point, somewhere along the way, you finally slow down for a second and you start asking this quiet question. Okay, but what am I actually doing all this for? Because no matter how much you do, the finish line just keeps moving. And once you notice that, it's hard to unsee it. That's when you start thinking about your life. We were promised. Go to school, get a job, work hard, retire hopefully one day, and then finally you get to enjoy your life. It sounds clean, simple, safe. But what nobody really talks about is that everything in between the day you start working and the day you stop. Busy for decades. You ask someone busy for decades. You ask someone near the end of their career what they did with their life, and a lot of the times they'll answer, I just worked. They have no stories. They have nothing they loved. They just worked. And that realization hits hard because it forces you to confront something uncomfortable. A lot of people will spend their entire life being productive and still end up feeling empty. And that's where a lot of contradiction shows up because on one hand, if you don't work, you're stuck. No money, no freedom, no real options to do the things you want to do. But on the other hand, if all you do is work, you're still stuck. You have no time. You have no energy to do the things you want to do. No space to even figure out where you want to go. So at this point, it becomes clear that work itself isn't the enemy. The real issue is working without knowing why you're doing it. Somewhere along the way, survival quietly replaced living, and most of us didn't even notice it happening. That's why the shift has to happen in how we think about work. Because work is never supposed to be your life. It was supposed to support it. Work is a tool. Money's a tool. And a tool only matters because of what it gives you. What work is really supposed to buy you is time. The time to slow down and ask yourself what actually you care about. Time to build something outside of work that, is actually important. Time to experience life as more than just the weekends. This mistake of spending your entire life supporting work instead of using work to support your life outside of it. And once you see that mindset, once you see that, the idea of escaping the rat race starts to change. Because escaping the rat race doesn't mean quitting your job tomorrow or to go disappear off the grid somewhere. It starts way easier than that. It starts mentally. You stop asking, how do I climb faster? And you start asking, what kind of life am I trying to pay for? And that question changes everything. Now work has a role for you. You use it as a way to fund the hobbies that you want to pursue, to fund your health, to create the experiences you're wanting, to buy yourself the time and space to explore the things that actually matter for you. Not just titles, promotions, and status. Work becomes a background to your life instead of the main character. And when you think about it that way, the pressure starts to shift. You still work, you still show up, but it is no longer your entire identity. And that's really the point. We have to work for a living, that's a given. But we don't have to forget what living actually means in the process. Because a life that's only about work isn't really a life. It's just a really long shift that we were a part of. And the goal isn't to stop working. The goal is to make sure your life exists outside of it. Because at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, nobody's going to look back and ask, man, I really should have spent more time working when I had the opportunity. That's for this week's episode, guys. Like, subscribe, leave a comment what you think.